Hi, everyone. Thank you for coming. My name is Jessica Campbell, and I am the social worker here at the Jersey City Free Public Library. And I am stationed at the Five Corners branch, but I do serve every branch. So no matter what location you come into, you can ask for my services and get some help. So today, I thank the college readiness team for having me to discuss mental health and the importance of self-care. We all know that it's important. It's as important as our physical health, but we don't tend to look at it that way. So I just have a little presentation that PowerPoint that I want to share with you, and then ask questions at any time and we'll go from there. So let me see. All right. Can you guys see the slides? Okay,
Yes.
thank you. So some of the things that you should be able to do by the end of my presentation or a little talk. I don't like to call it a presentation. I think that's boring. I like to make it more of a discussion, more interactive. So I want you to be able to define mental health and mental illness, identify the difference between mental health and mental illness, identify what causes mental illness, define what stress is, identify how to manage stress, and identify self-care and some self-care tips. So I want to know what your favorite thing that has happened to you during the pandemic is. And you can put that in the chat or you can unmute yourself. But I just want to hear from a few of you on what your favorite thing that happened so far. So Anthony was able to graduate a year earlier. That's exciting. Congratulations.
Congratulations, Anthony. It's amazing.
Online learning was, I'm sorry, I don't want to say your name wrong. Hadia. Okay, Hadia's favorite part was online learning. I know that that's been a struggle for a lot of people. Somebody from their iPhone says that they were able to be with their family because of in-home learning. Johnny was able to start a business. These are all very exciting things. And I have to agree with you. My favorite part was being able to spend time with my family because of working from home, and my niece and nephew are getting big, and so I got to spend a lot of time with them, so that was exciting. If you have any questions or any comments during the conversation, please type them in the chat or unmute yourself. I like to be interactive. I like this to be more of a conversation, and then I don't feel like I'm talking to myself. So please feel free to do that. So mental health is basically the way we act, feel, think. It incorporates our emotional, psychological, and social well-being. It affects how we think, feel, and act, and how we handle stress, connect and relate with others, and make healthy choices. Our mental health is important at every stage in our lives, from childhood to adulthood. So mental health isn't more important during one phase of our life than another phase. It's important all the time. And I think that some people tend to think that it's only important whenever you're undergoing a traumatic event or a social stressor, but it's important to think about all the time. Mental health is more than just the absence of mental disorders or disabilities. So mental illness is a condition that affects the way a person thinks, feels, their mood, and their behavior. Mental illnesses include depression, anxiety, bipolar disorder, and many, many others. These conditions can happen on occasion or short term, or can be long lasting or chronic, and they often affect the way that people can relate to others and how they can function on a daily basis. Mental illnesses can lead to many physical health issues as well. So I said that there was differences between mental health and mental illness, which a lot of people use those terms interchangeably, but they are different. Mental health is your general state of mind and well-being, whereas mental illness is something that disrupts your mental state and interrupts your feelings, thoughts, communications, and behaviors. A person can experience poor mental health and not be diagnosed with a mental illness. Similarly, a person can have a diagnosed mental illness and experience times of good physical, mental, and social well-being. Mental illnesses are health conditions involving changes in emotion, thinking, or behavior, or a combination of these things. And mental illnesses are also associated with distress and or problems functioning in social work or family activities. Does that make sense? All right, I'm going to assume nobody has questions then. I'm going to keep going. Some of the more common mental health disorders that we hear about are anxiety disorders, mood disorders, and schizophrenia disorders. So, our anxiety disorders are the most common type of mental illness, and people with these conditions have severe fear or anxiety, which relates to certain objects or situations. Most people with an anxiety disorder will try to avoid exposure to whatever triggers their anxiety. So, um, a lot of people have social anxiety, so they will avoid social events or large group events so that they don't trigger or ignite those mental health disorders, that anxiety. When people have mood disorder, um, or affective disorders, those are often our depressive disorders. So people with those conditions have significant changes in mood, generally involving either mania, which is a period of high energy and elation, or depression. So mood disorders are exactly what they sound like. Those are the disorders that are how you feel. So those changes in how you feel. So you can have your highs or your mania, which is like you feel on top of the world, nothing can stop you, or your depression, your periods of depression, which are when you're at your lowest lows and you don't know how you're going to continue doing what you're doing. Schizophrenia is a little bit difficult, is more difficult, and it is a highly complex condition that typically develops between the ages of 16 and 30. Individuals with schizophrenia often have broken up or fragmented thoughts and find it hard to process information. Also, those with schizophrenia usually have either delusions or hallucinations. They'll see or hear things that aren't there. They believe that there are voices talking to them, voices taking over their head, over their body, telling them what to do with themselves. And so schizophrenia is not as common as anxiety and mood disorders. However, it is becoming a more recognized disorder. While there's no single cause of mental illness, there's a list of factors that can contribute to the risk of mental illness, and everyone has some risk of developing a mental health disorder, no matter their age, sex, income, or ethnicity. Mental health does not discriminate. It affects those that are rich, those that are famous, those that are poor, those that are homeless. Anyone can be affected by mental illness. And if anything, these past few years, with some of those stars and celebrities who have taken their own lives and or come out as being part of the mental health program and trying to make a difference. Lady Gaga is a big one who has tried to share her experiences with mental health and mental illness, and she also started a foundation, the Way You Are Foundation. and that tries to help teens who are going through difficulty in their life. There's no physical test or scan that can indicate whether a person has developed a mental illness. And it is important to note that good mental health depends on a delicate balance of factors that several elements of life and the world at large can work together to contribute to disorders. So you want to make sure that if you or one of your friends are experiencing a mental illness, you look for those changes that could show you that they are experiencing something different. So there's biological factors, there's different genes that can expose you to mental illnesses, life experiences like a traumatic event. If you've been in a country that experiences war, or even a car crash, doesn't have to be anything that intense. Those experiences can expose you to a mental health, predispose you to a mental health and mental illness. A history of illness. Some disorders are biological, meaning that if somebody in your family has had that disorder, you are predisposed to getting that disorder as well. And then your lifestyle choices. If you're living an alternative lifestyle that might contribute, like doing drugs and alcohol excessively, those things can also lead to a mental illness. At some point in our life, we've all experienced stress, I'm sure, and stress is a feeling of emotional or physical tension. It can come from any event or thought that makes you feel frustrated, angry, or nervous. Stress is your body's reaction to a challenge or demand. In short bursts, stress can be positive, such as when it helps you avoid danger or meet a deadline. So in those times, like if you have a paper due at 11:30 p.m. and it's 10:20 p.m., you might have some stress on if you're going to be able to finish that paper and get it done. But that adrenaline that kicks in helps you push yourself to be able to do that. So that's when stress can be a positive factor. But then when it lasts for a long time, it may harm your health. Stress is a normal reaction to everyday pressures, but it becomes unhealthy when it upsets your day-to-day functioning. So if the stress that you're experiencing is starting to impact everything else that you do, for example, getting out of bed, brushing your teeth, getting a shower, any of those day-to-day functions, that's when it becomes an issue and becomes something that you should look into a little more and look at getting some help with. Stress responses help your body adjust to new situations, and stress is subjective. It's not measurable with any test. Only the person experiencing it can determine whether it is present and how severe it feels. A healthcare provider may use a questionnaire to understand your stress and how it affects your life, but there's no test to determine how stressed you are. It is all subjective. Does anybody have any questions so far? So there are two main types of stress, which acute stress is the short-term stress that goes away quickly. You feel it when you slam on the brakes, have a fight with your partner, or ski down a steep slope. It helps you manage dangerous situations, and it also occurs when you do something new or exciting. All people experience acute stress at one time or another. On the other side, we have chronic stress, which lasts for a longer period of time. And you may experience chronic stress if you have money problems, an unhappy relationship, or trouble at work or school. Any type of stress that goes on for weeks or months is considered chronic stress. And with chronic stress, you can become so used to it that you don't realize it is a problem until you find yourself in an unhealthy situation. So it's best to find ways to manage your stress so that it doesn't lead to additional health problems. Some of the ways that you can manage your stress is by recognizing it in your life. Like we said, everyone feels stress at some point and they feel it in a different way. Um, Once you know what signals to look for, you can start to manage it. Identify those situations that cause you stress. Those situations are called stressors. Your stressors can be family, school, work, relationships, money, or health related. And once you understand where your stress is coming from, you can come up with ways to deal with your stressors. So you want to avoid unhealthy stress relief. When you feel stress, it is easy to fall back on unhealthy behaviors to help you relax. Unhealthy behaviors can include overeating or eating too much, smoking cigarettes, drinking alcohol or using drugs, sleeping too much or not sleeping enough. So these behaviors may help you feel better at first, but they're going to hurt you more than they help you in the end. You want to find healthy stress relief, as there are many ways to manage stress and not all things will work for you in your situation. You want to try a few things to see what works best for you. So you want to recognize the things that you can't change. So the things that you can't change are like the fact that you have to drive to school and there's traffic. But you can look for ways to relax during that commute, such as listening to your favorite songs. Avoid the stressful situations when you can. Remove yourself from the source of stress. If your family is having a fight, especially during the holidays, give yourself a breather and go out for a walk or a drive. Oftentimes, getting exercise is the best way to cope with stress. It's also one of the easiest. Getting physical activity every day. When you exercise, your brain releases chemicals that make you feel good. You could change your outlook in life. Trying to develop a positive attitude towards challenges, do something you enjoy, learn new ways to relax, such as breathing techniques, Tai Chi, yoga, connect with a loved one, spend time with family and friends that can help you feel better and forget about your stress. Confiding in a friend may also help you work out your problems. But if your friends or family are a cause of your stress, that's one that you want to avoid. Make sure you're getting enough sleep. Getting a good night's sleep can help you think more clearly and have more energy. Maintain a healthy diet. Skip the high sugar snack foods and load up on vegetables, fruits, whole grains, low fat or non-fat dairy and lean proteins. And learn to say no. If your stress comes from taking on too much at home or work or school, learn how to set limits and ask others for help when you need it. Some of the additional ways to relieve stress is by participating in self-care. There's no one definition of self-care, but the one that I like the best is self-care means taking care of yourself so that you can be healthy, you can be well, you can do your job, you can help and care for others, and you can do all things you need to and want to accomplish in a day. Self-care is part of the answer to how we can all cope with our daily stressors. Self-care requires checking in with yourself, asking yourself how you're doing and what your body is asking for. Some people use it to deal with difficult news stories, others just to maintain their happiness day to day. Self-care does not mean the same thing for everyone, and different people will adopt different self-care practices, and even your own definition might change over time. So while this looks different to every person, this picture just shows you some ideas on what different types of self-care look like. There's emotional self-care, which is like self-talk, bubble baths, saying no to things that cause unnecessary stress, giving yourself permission to take a pause, or setting up a weekly coffee date with a friend. There's physical self-care, such as prioritizing sleep, getting an exercise routine that you can stick with, choosing healthy and nourishing foods over highly processed ones. And then lastly, there's spiritual self-care, such as attending a religious service, spending time in nature, meditating, incorporating regular acts of kindness into your day, or keeping a gratitude journal. So these things look different to everyone, and you might have to try a few things before you realize what works for you, but taking care of yourself is very important, especially in the difficult times that we've been going through. Um, so I have some resources for if you feel like you need a little additional help, and I will make sure that we share this with you as well. But some of the organizations that I recommend are the National Suicide Prevention Hotline, the Second Floor Hotline, and the Trevor Project. All of them have a text and chat option as well if you don't feel like you want to talk physically to somebody on the phone about it, but they're all great resources. So I am going to open it up for questions. If anybody has any questions, you can type those in the chat or raise your hand and we can answer any questions that you might have.
Thank you, Jessica. This was a really good presentation.
Thank you. I just wanted to give that basic information. I mean, we could have full day sessions talking about what mental health and self-care are, but when you understand the basics of the information you're given, then you can understand why it is so important to take care of your mental health as well as your physical health. Okay, so Amina has a question and she said, what is your main self-care method that you really enjoy whenever you need to relieve any stress? I have 3 go-tos that I do. And it just depends on where I am and what I'm doing on which one I can do. So my first one is take a nap. I am a nap person, and so sleep to me fixes everything. If I cannot take a nap, then I like to take a walk. I can always take a walk no matter if I'm at work, if I'm at home, and that could even be just literally taking a walk around the block. That is my big one. My last one is a bubble bath. I am very relaxed when I take a bubble bath. I usually take an audio book with me, and so I can get into my what I call my Zen zone, and so it's my most relaxing moment. So those are the 3 self-care methods that I go to often. And like I said, it just depends on where I am and what I can access on whether I can do them. Thank you for that question. Does anybody else have any questions?
Or would anyone like to share their self-care? Their 3
Okay.
self
So
tips?
Melissa said, is there a simple way to meditate, breathe for a quick relief? Melissa, I like to use guided meditations or guided deep breathing. And you can easily find those on YouTube or any search engine. And I literally just type in guided meditation, simple guided meditation, or simple deep breathing. And there's usually like a 2 to 3 minute video. They do have longer ones if you want something longer, but they do have they vary in time, but I like to do guided ones because it helps take my mind off of anything. Any specific recommendations or apps? I really like the Calm app. I'll type that in the chat. So, but they have daily meditations that are about 10 minutes long. They have daily recommended playlists. So I do find that the Calm app is very helpful. But like I said, I've used YouTube as well, and YouTube is great.
Yeah, Jessica, I'm going to piggyback on that. I use YouTube as well. Again, for some reason with Calm, I don't know why I was having like issues with the app. I had to reinstall it, install it again. But YouTube has never steered me wrong. I want to say I started with guided meditation because, like many of you, I didn't know where to start. I didn't know how to meditate, and I knew it wasn't just as simple as closing your eyes and humming. You know, I wanted to know how do I properly go about it. Guided meditation is a great thing, and it's one of the methods that I use outside of using an app like Jessica does. But if I had to throw my little 2 cents in it, one thing that really helps me, which I really got into, I'm gonna say probably like a few years ago, is a gratitude journal. I
Mm.
notice if I just take some time just to sit back, I'm like, okay, what can I really be grateful for in this moment? It helps. It helps. And that's how I get my morning started too. Like I don't get out of bed, I don't touch my phone until I at least write down 5 things that I'm grateful for. If the day is just going really stressful, I got to go back to that journal and add another 2 or 3 things that I'm grateful for. And it really, it's changed my life because now I'm in a perspective where it's just like, I have so much I could be grateful for because things can be different for me. Things can be different for me in the blink of an eye. So if I'm not napping or doing meditation, I think grabbing some type of journal, and even if you do it in your phone, you can do it through your notes app. It doesn't have to be, you don't have to physically write it out. I think just taking some time to just sit down and be like, what am I grateful for today? And it doesn't have to be a long list. Just jot down 1 or 2 things. And honestly, you'll probably keep going because you sit there and realize like, oh my gosh, I have a ton to be grateful for. So
Yeah, thank you for sharing that. And Melissa, thank you for your question. But Kiana, going back to the journaling is one of the most basic forms of self-care that they teach you at the very beginning. So there's like the guided meditation, the deep breathing, and journaling. Those are like the top 3 that they teach you. And with technology emerging and stuff, it doesn't have to be that physical pen and paper. Like you said, you can type it in your phone. You can keep it there. And it doesn't have to necessarily be, what are you grateful for today? You can also do just a couple of quick bullet points of how the day went, or your mood. You could rate your mood, things that you'd like to improve. You can do so many things with journaling. It doesn't have to just be the gratitude journal. That's a great one to start with. And you said you do that in the mornings, which is a great way to start your day. So thank you for sharing that.
mhm.
Anybody wants to share any questions or their practices with us, that would be great. We're happy to hear what you're doing or what you would like to be doing. We want to hear from all of you. Headspace. Oh, I've heard of Headspace. Thank you, Tiana, for sharing that. I have heard of Headspace, and I've heard really good things about that app, and I just haven't used it myself, but I have heard really good things about it.
Jessica, is that similar to Calm or?
I believe so. I think it is more a little more guided, if I'm not mistaken.
Okay. I'm gonna look into that.
Does anybody else have anything? Okay, so Amina loves music and finds music to be very soothing and relaxing. So they're gonna try to learn the guitar or piano. That's very great. I mean, I wish that I had some musical talent. I always say when I hear people playing the piano that I'm gonna learn, and I wish that I could say I used COVID to learn a new skill, but I did not. So that is a great way. Music can also be very therapeutic. Johnny said they use the Breathe app. It's so convenient to relieve stress. I have used the Breathe app before. I only switched to Calm whenever our work gave us a subscription. So that's the only reason why I switched. Thank you all for sharing that. Does anybody have anything else they want to share before we end or add to the chat? All right, well, I want to thank you guys so much for coming to this presentation and for participating. And I will make sure you get those resources and my contact information so that if you have any questions after this, that you can reach out to me for anything.
I just want to say thank you, Jessica, for doing this. Thank you
Thank
so
you for
much. On
having
behalf
me.
of the college readiness team, thank you so much. We needed this.
Yes, thank you for having me, and I look forward to working with you guys all again.
Thank you so much.
Have a good one, everyone.
Bye, guys.